Okay, N-Space, what are we going to be defying in your next game? The Russians? The ultra-nationalists? Or are you just taking blindfolded stabs and saying that this is a game about defying the penultimate always correct country of America? My guess is that they were just taking the piss and halfway through the project decided against calling it Modern Warfare 3 DS and slapped a random subtitle on it that was pulled out of the tattered hat of random words. But seriously, Defiance? Armageddon makes more sense, and that's basement level creativity. And yes, viewer, I am stalling for time in this review. How did you guess? Is it because this is another N-Space game? No, because remember their last game reached the dizzying heights of okay last time we were here. Is it because there's a shoestring context for what the fuck we are doing in this game? Ding ding ding, we have a winner! In Mobilized, I wrote that the plot in that iteration was one of the most coherent plots in the entire franchise since we have only one objective that takes up the whole game, chasing a nuke. And for some stupid reason, N-Space decided to progress from that great framing device to going to a place, going to another place, and then going on vacation to a third place and doing random objectives X, Y, and Z that will save the world. Somehow. The problem with that plot is that it's trying to serve as the prequel to Modern Warfare 3, the console game, and basically amounts to the player going to Alaska, then Nevada, and finally Washington to fight the Russians all the long day, and this would be a standard plot for an average game if that was the only thing that fucked up. But in Defiance, we return to the same issues that COD 4 DS was kneecapped by. Shitty enemy AI, clipping errors, and terrible music design, the N-Space staples. The enemies in this game actually managed to be the worst AI in this entire franchise. Yes, the entire franchise, because the targeting of the enemies is set exclusively on your immortal ally characters, and regular shootouts have no threat against you because the lock onto the allies allowing you to have all the potshots in the world for the rest of the game. I died a whole 3 times to Russian foot soldiers because I was experimenting playing the game while writing down snarky comments about MGS5. The Lord of AI came back in this game and gave the soldiers that magical ability to have their corpses float in midair. Defiance, more like defying gravity. And speaking of, let's defy our eardrums to the continued failure of N-Space to get a competent composer on board. For shitting Christ's sake, N-Space, didn't the last 2 games that you put out teach you nothing about the zero quality music design you patched into this entire trilogy? We're still seeing the sparse soundtrack. In this game it got about 4 unique tracks, and the MIDI tools that they use which have the song end at complete random for absolutely no goddamn reason. It sounds like a shitty Steam developer put this together if only it were made entirely out of freeware tunes. And yes, I'm gonna continue bitching about this even though I'm ironically yelling through total silence. These are all the things that we've seen N-Space fail in the past from, and I thought the developer was pulling away from their COD 4 DS failings and finally putting the effort in after Mobilized jumped in quality, and that's where my expectation was when the first thing I see after hitting start is that after 2 attempts, N-Space finally put in an option to have the letter buttons on the console be the camera controls. Hallelujah and praise the new age of handheld FPSs. That thought lasted about 5 minutes before the first hacking minigame started. It's a rhythm minigame. It's a fucking rhythm game! N-Space, the adventure game segment had been one of your best traits throughout the entire 3 games we've done, and you managed to keep their quality high throughout those 2 games, and here of all places is where you decide to drop the ball. Every adventure game segment is crap this time, and they have a number. This rhythm game is pointless, insipid, and illogical to the plot and reality. The 3-digit hacking games are jacked in difficulty for no reason since you had a working model and Mobilized. This, I don't even know what to call it. Defiance game is us directing ground troops using laser pointers to stealth around enemies? What am I even looking at here? There's no variety, no levity, just a bundle of annoyances to break up a boring game. Ultimately, Defiance here defied my expectations that N-Space was on a path to improvement and instead paints Mobilized as a temporary moment of clarity where everything went absolutely flawless in development and they put in the most effort possible into that game, and Defiance is what they actually think is a finished product. This insipid, half-ass, botched expansion pack for a great console game. While writing, I know why this keeps happening. It's because handhelds are believed to be inherently incapable of doing serious gaming experiences, so developers instead just create this genre of game, which I'm going to tie to the on-rail shooter. This is a type of game we see too often in the FPS world, where 70% of the game is just first-person perspective shooting galleries with no weight to our actions and just serves as hurdles to get from set piece to set piece with no plot or context for anything that we're doing. I'm getting sick to my goddamn stomach playing all these on-rail shooters because all they are just dumbass time sinks with no coherence or point for playing them. You just go through them for 3 to 5 hours and get a shitty ending. Just like this.